We're back. Let's jump right into it. Today, I want to get into the testimony of Robin Yeardy because she's probably the most important defense witness yet, in my opinion. Robin Yeardy states in her testimony that she is aware that there was a personal romantic relationship between Nathan Wade and Fani Willis prior to Fani Willis appointing Nathan Wade. Of course, if that's true, it does directly contradict what Fani Willis said on the stand, what she testified, but also supports the inference that the defense is correct in that there was a relationship before and that Fani Willis appointed her boyfriend so that she could receive some sort of financial benefit. Now, ultimately, the judge is going to be the facts finder in this case. It's going to be up to the judge to determine the credibility of the witnesses, whether the judge believes them or not. But without further ado, let's get into Robin Yeardy's testimony and see what she's saying about the relationship and go from there.
Ms. Yeardy, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
All right. Raise your right hand, ma'am. You swear affirm the testimony you get a court will be the truth. Does the truth will help you?
Yes.
Would you please state and spell your full name for the court?
Robin Latrice Yeardy.
Thank you, Ms. Yeardy. Thank you for being here. Can you tell the judge when you first met Ms. Willis?
In college.
Okay.
So probably 90 or 91.
Okay. And have you been friends since 1990 or 91?
Yes.
Okay. When
Pause right here. So Robin Yeardy says she's been friends with Fani Willis since 1990 or 1991. Of course, when Fani Willis got on the stand, if you watch my previous video, you'll see she said that she was not friends. She wouldn't consider herself friends with Robin Yeardy. They were in a similar circle because their colleges were near each other, but they did not attend the same university, and they lost contact sometime, I think, after Robin Yeardy graduated from college, and did not regain contact until about 8 years ago. And so Fani Willis did not describe them as friends throughout this entire time from 1990 when they met up until now. So that's already starting with a discrepancy between the testimony between these two individuals.
when was the last time you spoke with Ms. Willis?
March of 2022.
Okay. From 1991-ish till 2022, were you what you would consider good friends with Ms. Willis?
Yes.
And did you all share personal information regularly?
Yes.
And did you even come and work with her at the DA's office?
Yes.
And when she needed a place to stay, did you let her stay at your apartment?
Yes.
It was a condo, right?
Condo, yes.
Okay. Do you remember approximately when she moved into your condo?
It was April of 2021.
Okay, great. And you know that Ms. Willis and Ms. Wade met at a conference in October of 2019?
I'm going to object to that, Your Honor, without a foundation for how this witness would know that. If Ms. Merchant can establish she has personal information of that, then certainly that's something the witness can testify to. But if it's she heard
Understood,
it,
Ms. Cross. All right, Ms. Merchant, if you could lay the foundation.
do you have information?
So what we heard there was an objection, lack of foundation. Before the witness can testify as to whether Nathan Wade and Fani Willis did meet each other at that conference, she's going to have to explain to the court how she knows that information before she can testify about it. If she just heard it from somebody else, then she's not going to be able to testify about it because that's not personal information. That's not something that she gained on her own. Also, I want to note that this is not a point of contention. Fani Willis has already confirmed that she met Nathan Wade at that conference. So this is not something that's going to be kept out or something that we don't already know. So I understand why the prosecutor made the objection because they need, they have to make every objection on the record that they can. They don't have to make this objection, but, I see what she was saying because there was no foundation laid at this particular instance.
That Ms. Willis and Mr. Wade met in October of 2019.
I'm going to renew my objection, Your Honor. Information is not sourced to personal information. If the question can be rephrased, then that may address my concern.
So Judge, I just want to make sure that I understand. So they've objected to me calling Willis and Wade.
It's just a matter of foundation. If you can just rephrase.
Do you have knowledge of when Willis and Wade met?
I'm going to object again. Personal knowledge.
Overruled.
Thank you. Do you have personal knowledge of when Willis and Wade?
So the judge overruled the objection because the question could have been phrased a little bit tighter. I mean, she could have said, "Do you have personal knowledge?" And that would have gotten us over the hump of this whole back and forth that we're having now. Essentially, what the prosecutor wants to know is, does Robin Yeardy know personally? Did Fani Willis tell her, or did Nathan Wade tell her, or did she see them at the conference? And she talked to them and they said they met there. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to testify to this information. But obviously, the judge overruled the objection. The judge wants to get this out because at this point, we get it. She's saying knowledge, but we know she's talking about personal knowledge. Do you yourself know?
Wade met.
Yes, she told me that they met at a conference. I don't know what conference.
Okay.
I'm going to renew my objection, Your Honor. Clearly, this is not firsthand information from this witness. It's hearsay that was.
But she said she told me.
Yes, it's statement against interest, Judge. If Ms. Willis,
Just pause.
I'm sorry.
Okay, Ms.
Yes.
Cross.
The representation of the witness, the testimony of the witness was that Ms. Willis, District Attorney Willis, had a conversation with her. There is no statement against interest. District Attorney Willis is not a party opponent in this case.
This is good. So what the defense attorney is arguing, that this hearsay, this is an exception to hearsay, right? Obviously, Fani Willis told me that's not her. That's not her seeing them at the conference together. Fani Willis told me that's hearsay. What the defense attorney is saying is that it's hearsay, but it's an exception to the hearsay rule because Fani Willis is a party opponent. It's a statement against interest. But the prosecutor is saying Fani Willis is not a party opponent. She's actually not a party in the case at all. It's Donald Trump and his co-defendants versus, the state of Georgia, not Fani Willis versus Donald Trump and his co-defendants. So we're going to hear further what the judge says about this and how this is going to play out.
The information that the witnesses testified to came from Ms. Willis, and we have a hearsay objection to that.
Why wouldn't she be considered a party opponent in this context?
She is a representative of the state, Your Honor. This isn't private litigation or civil litigation. Obviously, the courts are aware this is.
So the judge is probing a little bit further into that because in this particular instance, right, the defense attorneys are saying that Fani Willis has a conflict. They're trying to prove that she should be disqualified. She did something wrong. And it is circling around her conduct. But I think technically in the case, right, it's not Fani Willis versus Donald Trump. As I said before, it's the state of Georgia. And though Fani Willis is a representative of the state of Georgia, she is not the state of Georgia. Does that track? That's essentially what the prosecutor is going to argue. That's what I think she's going to argue anyway. I haven't seen this portion of the direct examination.
Ms. Willis is not on trial. Ms. Willis is not a party to the litigation outside her obligation to pursue criminal charges with the state.
Ms. Merchant, I guess it's evolved into a hearsay objection.
Yes, Judge. And we plan on calling Ms. Willis to the stand. She's under subpoena, so hearsay will be cured. If there is a hearsay objection as far as that issue. But we do still think that it's a statement against interest. Ms. Willis has filed a document that states that they met at this municipal court conference. So,
Your Honor, I think maybe I can streamline a little bit. State will stipulate that District Attorney Willis and Mr. Wade met in October 2019 at the judicial conference that we've been talking about. There's no reason to get it secondhand from this witness. Well, that's true.
All right, you accept the stipulation, Ms. Merchant?
Exactly. So this is what I was saying earlier. We actually don't even have to have this back and forth. I don't really think the prosecutor needed to object right there. We already know. I mean, no one's disputing when they met. Fani Willis has already filed the affidavit with the court saying they met at that municipal court conference. So I think the prosecutor probably could have not said anything at that point and just let the defense attorney ask that question because it's not really relevant in the grand scheme of things. It's not when they met. The question is, when did they begin that romantic relationship? That is what we're trying to tap into here.
yes. Am I permitted then to ask questions about that since it's now not hearsay?
If it's just to a stipulation, if it's just to that basic fact, I don't think we need a question, but if there's a follow-up that you think is admissible, go for it.
Ms. Yeardy, you have personal knowledge that Ms. Willis and Mr. Wade began their romantic relationship soon after this time that they met at the municipal court.
I'm going to object to that question. That certainly is a leading question. No foundation has been laid for how this witness would have personal knowledge of that. Until that's happened, the state objects.
Judge,
I think you can do a yes or no and then follow up with.
Here we go. So now I see what the prosecutor was doing. I apologize, Madam Prosecutor. The prosecutor didn't want Miss Yuri to get into how Fani Willis and Nathan Wade met because she didn't want her to then take that next leap as to when the romantic relationship started, which is the whole hullabaloo about this entire thing. So the prosecution wants to keep Miss Yuri from talking about when that personal relationship started. That's why we're hearing all these objections. That's why we heard that last objection, that it was a leading question. I suspect the prosecution is going to have a decent amount of objections when it comes to this witness, because this witness does have the testimony that is, I think, the most harmful to the state.
With how she knows it.
Thank you. Do you know if Miss Willis and Mr. Wade started dating in October of 2019?
I don't know if it was October of 2019.
Could it possibly be November of 2019?
Could possibly.
Okay. And when we spoke, you said it was shortly after the municipal court conference, though, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you know that their relationship, their personal relationship, began shortly after this municipal court conference.
Yes.
And when I say personal, romantic. I just want to make sure we don't get in an argument over what personal and romantic is later. When I ask you personal, do you take that to mean romantic?
Yes.
I mean, this is important to clarify too, right? Because personal relationship could mean anything, right? I might have a personal relationship with one of my coworkers, but I'm not romantically involved with them. Romantic means affection, kissing, hugging, holding hands, romantic, right? As opposed to just somebody that you know, but you don't share any intimacy with. So we have to distinguish between that. And that's something that this defense attorney had an issue with when she ended up talking to and cross-examining Fani Willis, because she kept saying personal. She didn't want to say romantic. Then she wanted to say romantic. And Fani was saying, well, are you talking about romantic or personal? It was a whole thing. And so, yes, the defense attorney is going to have to clarify between personal and romantic relationship. It might seem like a really minute point, but it's not. It's important.
And do you understand it that their relationship began in 2019 and continued until the last time you spoke with her?
Yes.
So what she's saying is she knows their relationship began in 2019 and was still going on in 2022, which is the last time that this witness spoke to Fani Willis. Obviously damning, because Fani Willis says that they didn't get into a relationship until after he was appointed as special prosecutor for the Trump case.
And you were essentially her best friend during this time, right?
Not best friend, good friend.
Good friend. Okay, close friend. And so would you frequently socialize with her?
Yes.
And you saw her at work every day?
Yes.
So you had a chance to see them interact together on a personal level?
Yes.
And so from everything that you saw, heard, witnessed, it's your understanding that they were in a romantic relationship beginning in 2019?
Yes.
And when you left the DA, I'm sorry, let me ask you, you said that Ms. Willis came to live with you in April of 2021. I'm sorry, April 1st, 2020 or 2021?
She didn't live. I never lived with her.
Okay, I'm sorry. She took over your lease in April 1st, 2020, correct?
No, 2021.
Okay, I had it both ways, so I'm glad you clarified. So when she took over your lease in April 1st, 2021, it's your understanding she moved out of the house that she was sharing with her father and started staying at the condo?
Yes.
And is it your understanding that that's because she needed to have her own space?
Yes.
Away from her father?
Yes.
Okay, so this is also something different. So Fani Willis testified that she moved out of the house she shared with her father. It's Fani Willis's house, from my understanding, and she, I guess, allows her father to live there, whatever that arrangement is. But the important part is that Fani Willis said that she moved out of that house because she had safety concerns. Her life was being threatened when she became DA, her stance on gangs, and her prosecuting Trump. For all those reasons, she had to move because she couldn't, that location, her house was no longer safe. She said people showed up at her house at like 5 a.m. She was being threatened. Her life was being threatened. So she moved out of that house into the condo. Now, this witness appears to be saying that Fani Willis didn't move because of safety concerns, but she moved because she needed space. She needed to be away from her father. You know, she's a grown woman, from what I take this to mean, and she didn't want to live with her father. She needed space away from him. So again, another contradiction in the evidence.
When you left the DA's office, was it, were you fired?
No, I resigned.
You resigned, okay. Just one moment, Jen.
So this is something that I was not clear on. I thought Robin Yeardy was fired. She's saying she resigned in this, and I'm going to have to go further, and we're going to have to listen to the cross-examination by the prosecutor, because it was my understanding that she was fired. So she's saying that she resigned here, and let's touch back on that point as we continue further.
Can you tell us why you resigned the DA's office?
The number of things that was happening.
A number of things that were happening, is that what you said, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. What was happening that caused you to resign?
It was a spiral of things. So, I guess the last straw is I was put in a department that I knew had no knowledge about. Something happened, and I didn't like it. They didn't like it, and that was it.
Okay. Did you have any falling outs with Miss Willis?
Well, we never spoke after that.
You never spoke after that, okay. And so you're, without going into all the painstaking details, there is no doubt in your mind that from 2019 until 2022, Miss Willis and Mr. Wade were in a romantic relationship.
What's the question?
You have no doubt that their romantic relationship was in effect from 2019 until the last time you spoke with her.
No doubt.
And that's based on your personal observations and speaking with them and seeing them together and things like that.
No doubt is pretty confident. No doubt is no doubt. So she's saying she is positive that Nathan Wade and Fani Willis were in a relationship in 2019.
Yes.
No other questions. Thank you. The other folks may have some questions for you, Ms. Yeardy.
Say no.
You want me to go to the turn?
If it's more than a couple questions, then sure, but if not.
It's only a couple questions.
Okay.
I think, can the court reporter hear me okay?
So that's the main attorney. Ms. Merchant is the main attorney who's leading the charge for this conflict of interest case. But when she's done, so she'll always get to ask her questions first. But when she's done, the other defense attorneys who have joined her in the motion, so they've said, we want to join this motion too and have the benefit of this motion for our client, good or bad, but hopefully good. The other attorneys get to ask questions as well.
Ma'am, let me be very specific. Did you talk with Ms. Willis about her romantic relationship with Mr. Wade?
Yes.
Did Ms. Willis tell you on more than one occasion that she was engaged in a romantic relationship with Mr. Wade prior to you leaving the district attorney's office?
Did she tell me or did I observe?
I'm straight right now with the tell me.
Yes.
Did she tell you that in the year of 2020?
Yes.
In the year of 2020?
That's wild that she remembers that, because I do not remember the year of 2020, what I was telling people about my relationship. So the fact that she remembers that is definitely wild. It's interesting. I'm not saying she's a liar, but I guess she's saying she remembers it in the end. The testimony, either you believe the testimony or you don't.
21.
Yes.
Are you certain that Ms. Willis told you about the romantic relationship with Mr. Wade prior to November 1st of 2021?
Yes.
Now, did you also have observations of Mr. Wade and Ms. Willis together prior to November 1st of 2021?
Yes.
And are those observations, were those in a social setting?
Yes.
And did you observe them do things that are common among people having a romantic relationship?
Yes.
Such as, can you give us an example?
Hugging, kissing, just affection.
All before November 1st of 2021, correct?
Yes.
That's all I have.
Okay, I thought those questions were really good, straight to the point, straightforward. did you know this? Da, 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 da. I think that attorney typically comes in and kind of clarifies everything that happened during the initial back and forth with the main attorney, Ms. Merchant. So I thought that line of questioning was good, clarified everything.
Docs?
Ma'am, did I understand you to say that there was a period of time when you and Ms. Willis lived together?
No,
Mr. Durham?
No, nothing for me, Your Honor.
Mr. McDougall?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Mr. Rice?
Good morning, Ms. Yardley. Were you aware in 2021 of any trips, social trips that Ms. Willis and Mr. Wade took together?
no,
Are you aware of any social trips that Ms. Willis and Mr. Wade took together in 2022?
no,
And are you aware of them in 2020 or 2021 spending the evening together overnight?
no,
No further questions.
Mr. Gillen?
Nobody.
Mr. McCullough? And Mr. Cromwell?
No question, Your Honor.
Ms. Cross?
I do have some questions. Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Yurdy, we haven't met before.
Okay, so I'm going to slow it down here. You saw I kind of sped it up through the other attorneys because I think the main portion that everybody wants to watch is the initial defense attorney, Ms. Merchant, doing the direct examination, and then the prosecutor doing the cross-examination. So now we're back on the prosecutor, Miss Cross, I believe her name is. So now we're back on the prosecutor, and let's hear what questions that the prosecutor has. Remember, this prosecutor is cross-examining this witness, trying to poke holes in the testimony of this witness and make this witness look like a liar, or at least bring out the facts so that the judge or you and I might think that this witness is not telling the truth. So let's see how she does here.
Is that correct?
correct,
You're able to see and hear me okay?
yes,
All right. I want to start with a couple things. Now, I think you've made it clear that you never lived, we'll call it the South Fulton address, the South Fulton condo that you were leasing. You never lived at that address with the District Attorney Willis, correct?
correct,
And never at any time.
never,
All right. You never observed or have any information about District Attorney Wade and District Attorney Willis and Nathan Wade living together, correct?
correct,
You don't have any information about that?
no, I don't,
Anybody said that that information was sourced to you, then that's incorrect.
that's incorrect,
Did District Attorney Willis pay rent at that establishment?
Okay, so that's important. And I don't know if that happened with a different witness or a defense attorney is going to say that. She basically shut down any arguments that District Attorney Willis and Nathan Wade lived together at that, especially at that condo, because the Robin Yurdy is saying that's incorrect. If anybody said that I gave them that information, that's incorrect. So you can't say that she's the source of that information. So if that information came out, if somebody's saying that District Attorney Fani Willis and Nathan Wade did live together, it's going to have to come through a different witness because she made it clear, not through me.
At that condo while she lived there and you were living elsewhere?
yes,
Who paid the rent?
she did,
Nathan Wade ever pay the rent?
no,
And you never told anyone otherwise? I didn't hear your answer there, Ms. Yurdy. Did you ever tell anyone otherwise?
no,
All right. So let's talk for a second about your time at the district attorney's office. You were disciplined several times in the district attorney's office during your employment.
Here we go. Now the prosecutor is really getting into the nitty-gritty of the cross-examination where we're going to see her poke holes and create doubt in the credibility of the witness. This is really interesting because prosecutors don't often get the opportunity to do that because a lot of times defense attorneys don't put any witnesses up on the stand. So it's just the prosecutors giving the direct examination, proving their point, and the defense attorneys poking holes. But you see here that everything has been flipped on its head because now the prosecutors are on the defense. And that's just something that doesn't typically happen in these cases.
There, correct?
no,
You weren't written up ever for poor performance, Ms. Yurdy.
once, not several,
One time you were written up for poor performance where you counseled several times about your performance in the district attorney's office that was subpar.
no,
Did the district attorney tell you that your performance was insufficient and that you were going to be fired?
Here we go. So we're getting into reasons that the witness has to lie. So this is a classic tactic whenever somebody's cross-examining anybody else. Whenever a lawyer is cross-examining a witness, you're going to get into their motives, their bias. Why are they testifying the way that they're testifying? Especially if you are against them and you're trying to say that they shouldn't be believed in order for your client to get the result that your client needs. So here we see the prosecutor asking these leading questions, which are going to give rise to the inference that Ms. Yurdy is not to be believed and that she's not telling the truth.
No,
That never happened.
no. Maybe when we were at the end. What's the question?
The question, Ms. Yurdy, was, did the district attorney ever counsel you on your poor performance in the district attorney's office prior and inform you that you were going to be fired?
I don't really know how to answer that.
I'm looking for the truth.
I don't really know how to answer that.
Yeah, so this is unusual. She's saying she doesn't know how to answer that. And I personally don't know why she's struggling to answer the question. Either you were counseled and told that you were going to be fired or you weren't. I mean, if she can provide some clarification, we're all ears, but it doesn't bode well. I think me, as someone who's trying to judge the credibility of witnesses and understand what's going on, I don't think that looks great for her. I don't know why she can't answer the question. So hoping she provides some context here.
I mean, the situation happened. That wasn't my fault. And I either was going to resign or be let go. So
You understood that that was the situation. You could resign or you could be let go.
correct, yes,
You were not welcome to stay.
no,
And the conversation where you were informed that you could resign or you could be fired, that conversation was not the first conversation you had with the district attorney about your poor performance in the office, correct?
well, it was kind of a spiral, but no.
Yeah, it was. Whatever the situation was,
Not the yeah, it was, not the back and forth. That's not great. So I know the defense attorney is going to object and say, no, you can't say, yeah, it was. So, okay, so I am going to amend my earlier statement. It seems that Robin Yurdy was given the option to resign. She was not fired from the district attorney's office. So she was given the option to resign or be fired. Obviously, she chose to resign because who wouldn't? But she was obviously not welcome at the DA's office any further. So,
There's commentary by counsel. Questions are fine.
Understood, Mr. Sano. Ms. Cross.
Ms. Yurdy, the circumstances of your leaving the district attorney's office ended your friendship with the district attorney Willis, correct?
Yes,
Y'all haven't spoken since.
no.
All right, I want to talk about the representations that you made here this morning, Ms. Yurdy, about any relationship between District Attorney Willis and Mr. Wade. I want you to tell me what was the first time let me ask it this way. You said that District Attorney Willis personally informed you of a romantic relationship. Is that what you testified to?
Yes,
And when did that conversation that you purport to have, to recall, when did that happen?
I mean, I don't have a month or a day.
Where were
but
you?
Just talking in general.
Your Honor, we'd like to keep this witness under
Okay.
subpoena, but that's all the questions I have right now.
All right, thank you, Ms. Cross.
I have to redirect.
okay, so the prosecution is done asking questions for right now, unless they have some recross. But essentially what happens now is the defense attorney gets to do a redirect, so they get to come up and clarify any questions that were asked on cross-examination. They're supposed to limit the scope of their questions to things that were asked during cross-examination. So let's see what the defense attorney has on this.
I'm sorry.
All right, on those points only.
And as you just heard, the judge say, he said on those points only.
The
So
state asked you a lot about when you were let go, when you resigned. Did something happen as far as purchasing that you didn't feel comfortable with, purchasing things through the county for Ms. Willis that caused you to not be comfortable working there anymore?
No,
Well, I guess the defense attorney thought she was going to say yes to that. So obviously the defense attorney had, I guess, heard from somewhere or talked to the witness about why she resigned. And the defense attorney, I guess, heard that she resigned or felt uncomfortable because she was supposed to purchase some things. But obviously she just asked the witness that and the witness said no. So I don't know what's going on with that, but it's unusual to ask a question on direct or cross-examination that you don't know the answer to.
and I didn't tell you how to testify here today, though, right?
right,
And everything you've testified to is from your personal knowledge?
yes,
And you've told the truth here today?
yes.
Judge, I believe she's only under my subpoena, and I'm fine releasing her from that
Well,
subpoena.
not yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
By show of hands from other counsel, starting with Mr. Sadow.
Your Honor, I believe the door's been opened now to ask this particular witness about statements that Ms. Willis made to her. She brought it up on cross-examination on a couple of occasions. Did Ms. Willis say this or inform you of that? So I'd like to now ask her questions directly about what Ms. Willis told her about her romantic relationship.
I think we'll take those one at a time, question by question, and we can address those to see. I don't know about it.
So what the attorney is saying is that prior to this testimony, the judge had excluded certain questions about, statements as to the nature of the relationship or any statements that went into detail about the relationship. And the prosecutor asked the witness on cross-examination about statements regarding the relationship. And now the defense attorney is saying, well, look, now you've opened the door. Now that you've asked that, prosecutor, I can now ask what I wanted to ask earlier that was excluded. It's not excluded now, though, because you brought it up and you allowed it in court. So now it's fair game. And the judge is saying, okay, I hear what you're saying. Why don't you ask the questions, one by one, and then we'll figure out if we have an objection to each question as we ask it, because I'm not going to just give you carte blanche to ask whatever you want to ask.
Complete opening of the door. We'll see where we go.
The first time that you spoke to Ms. Willis about her romantic relationship with Mr. Wade, do you happen to remember what Ms. Willis said? In essence, not word for word, but in essence, what she said.
No,
Do you remember the first time she told you, in whatever words were used, that there was a romantic relationship?
no,
Is this the kind of conversation that you had with your best friend, ongoing over a period of time in which it was common knowledge to you that there was an ongoing relationship between Ms. Willis and Mr. Wade?
what's the question?
Yeah, I'll ask it again.
Yeah,
Is the nature
that
of,
was a long question. Even I got lost during the middle. So you're going to have to try your best to ask single questions, not compound questions when you're cross-examining or direct examining a witness. And so we saw that was a compound question. I'm surprised there wasn't an objection from the prosecutor, but that's why he's going to have to ask the question again.
your then relationship with Ms. Willis, such that you were having these ongoing conversations, that is, best friend type conversations about her relationship with Mr. Wade?
I don't remember.
Okay. Without getting any further into too much detail, is there any doubt at all that Mr. Wade and Ms. Willis had a romantic relationship, as was told to you, prior to November of 2020?
She was already asked that question by Ms. Merchant.
I just didn't know whether that is.
Multiple times. Like, we already went over this. I don't know why he's asking again. She already said yes, like 3 different times. So
She said no doubt.
No doubt.
All right. Any other defense counsel by show of hands? Seeing none. Last recross from Ms. Cross. Anything else?
Not this time, Your Honor, but we've asked the witness remain under subpoena and subject to recall.
Judge, she's under my subpoena, and I'm releasing her from my subpoena. So if they want to subpoena her, they're welcome to do that.
Ms. Cross.
I would prefer that the court keep her under subpoena. I think,
Sure.
Given the representation of Ms. Marchant, given how she intends to proceed today, that this witness may need to be recalled.
All right. Understood. In the interest and knowing that we may have to bring witnesses back and forth, I think it's in the interest of effective presentation of the evidence here. Ms. Yurdy, you are still going to remain under the auspices of your.
Okay, I'm going to leave it there, but let's first explain that last portion. So Ms. Yurdi is under subpoena from the defense attorney, not from the prosecution. So what the defense attorney is saying is that she's under my subpoena. I'm letting her go. She shouldn't have to stay here just because the state wants her to stay here. They should have subpoenaed her. And if they did not, then they can't keep her under subpoena. What the state said is, okay, we understand that, but judge, court, you can also keep a witness under subpoena and make sure they come back and forth to court. So the prosecutor asked the judge to do that. The judge here is about to say, okay, yes, I think for the effective presentation of evidence and Ms. Yurdi having to come back and forth, we're going to keep you under subpoena. So we need you here. If we have to recall you, you are going to be required to come here. My name is Alicia. I'm a criminal defense attorney and also personal injury attorney in Atlanta, Georgia. If you have a criminal case you need help with, or if you are in a car accident or hit by a truck, please call me, let me know, and we are happy to help. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel, and we will see you next time as we continue coverage of the Fani Willis disqualification case.